I had the entire space team hanging out with me on the other side. They were all there. You want to hear something? I got to tell a secret. Stephen Hawking's is with me. The two of us, we hang together. Boy, do we have laughs. And you know what? We both can drink now. I give him a cigarette. He gives me something too. And you know what? He's going, oh my God, was I wrong? And I said, yeah, oh my God, was I wrong? And you should see how the rest of the scientists were all going, oh my God, were we wrong? But wait, there is no God.
Welcome to Soul Explorers with your hosts, Gary Langley and Sally Taylor. I do want to warn our viewers that the notable people that came through were very much themselves, and that includes oftentimes colorful language. So be forewarned, if you have young children in the room, you may want to have them not listen.
Carl Sagan's right behind you right now, Regina. And
I know
he's got all of his whiteboards and his star charts and all of his stuff like he's in a classroom. It's delightful. I'm just really enjoying his energy as I'm sitting here, even though we're thousands of miles apart.
he's very, very calm. He's been sitting here, with his leg over the knee, one knee over the other, and just kind of flicking his leg and foot and, just
Yeah,
fine. He's fine. And he's going to basically just be talking through me as far as, I don't think for channeling. I don't think so. But he's just really close to me and just going to be instructing because he really wants me to be present for this. Fully present. So I'm going to do my best to be as clear for him as well, because he speaks a different language than I do. And it may be English, but it's not my English. So it's amazing. But really, he's not here to speak about science so much, are you? No, and I've had to write notes because while Carrie was talking, he goes, oh, I want to mention this and I want to mention that, as Carrie was triggering things in him to remind me. So his main thing is to UFOs and God. So he was agnostic, and he admits it, not atheist, agnostic, and UFOs. UFOs, he's confessing here, okay? This is about a confession. So he has two things of being right and wrong. He didn't like to be wrong because science had to back all of everything he said. Science had to be a part of it. And if science didn't fit into it, it was a great way to explore, not theoretically, but to explore the answers and to find out the reasons why, if it didn't fit, and where it should fit and how to get there. And he's telling me right now that Carrie was mentioning how she didn't care so much about the remakes, the constant bringing in of all of the different Star Wars things, the different series, the little and he's saying, well, that's part of who he was, about what he wanted to encourage, because he said sci-fi from all of the movies and things like that encouraged the next generation to look further, to keep going deeper, to think about science in a different way. And he said that was important. So he really thinks that Carrie, even though there may be things about it that she didn't care for, he said that's really important for the rest of our generations to continue to push forward and be inspired by sci-fi to find out the real science of it. And as much as he said science was a great exploration and a great bridge to the beyond. It didn't, it says he's, now that he's where he is, now he recognizes how wrong things were because there's so much more. And he said he knew there was more, and that was why he was agnostic. But to pinpoint and to say there's a God, absolutely not. And that's where he says, I'm right. Because he said that it's a, let me get the right word he's trying to get for me. He's got some other kind of long, convoluted word that doesn't make sense to me. He's saying God, the word God is merely a tool that humans have to use in order to allow them to believe that there's something greater than them. And he said, but the reality is we all know deep inside, and he's saying, even I knew that there's more. There's absolutely more, but we deny it because we have science to fall back on, even though science doesn't give us the answers. And he said, I was part of that. Although I kept wanting to go further. I kept feeling like there's an adventure out there that I need to go further. I wanted to be, I would have loved to have been with Kalpana, KC. I mean, she and I, we've had lots of conversations. And he says, one of my closest friends here, he says, Neil Armstrong, I love to hang with Neil. I hang with all the astronauts. I know them all, John Glenn, everybody. I know them. They were all my friends at one point in time in the real physical world. So to know them now, and we're all talking, and we're talking freely without being limited by the government. He said the government absolutely, I signed an agreement that I wouldn't speak about UFOs. I signed an agreement when I agreed to be a part of the Blue Book team. I signed an agreement because twofold. Early on, it was an encouragement for me to deny certain things in order for me to get the grants and the financial background to do all the research I wanted to do, including SETI. All of the research that I needed to do to know that there's extraterrestrial way far out there. But I had to deny, and it made no sense to deny that any UFOs would want to visit us. Of course they're here. Of course they are. But in order for me to continue to get the funding I needed for my SETI and for all the other research and all the other scientists that I was helping to support grant-wise, I needed to agree to disagree with the public, to deny that there's UFOs. However, I wanted everyone to keep looking up, to keep looking out there, because I was only one voice. And I knew that there was a voice of many who were all seeing it. And no matter how much I denied it, and the government denied it, sooner or later, that voice of many was going to come forward. I knew this would be public eventually. And it has been. And he's saying right now that the other thing is that if he didn't stay quiet, his family was going to pay for it. And I couldn't have anything happen to my children or my wives, all three of them. And I made sure that they all knew that I was agnostic, that I didn't believe in any of this stuff. And I continually stated that to them, even though inside I knew there was more. And it's not a confession at this point. It's just who I was. It's just, I had to do it. I had to protect my family. They talk about little black men, or the black men and black suits and black Suburbans. They're there. You'll make sure you toe the line. There was too many people who didn't follow contract and did suffer the consequences. I wasn't going to have that happen to my family, he says. So UFOs, yes, they're there. God? No God. No God. None, none. An immense journey out here, an immense exploration out here, an unending opportunity to explore out here where we are. And science has limited us and also opened doors for us when we're terrestrial. But if we could constantly remind ourselves that this is only one avenue to think, then we could see so much more and hear so much more and feel so much more. And he said there was exciting things. So much of my thoughts and discoveries and realities came from when I was dreaming. I'd wake up and I'd start writing them down. I got answers that made no sense. And I didn't talk about it either because I was supposed to not, I was supposed to make them. I had to follow the protocol. I had to make sense. And I didn't want anybody thinking, I didn't want anybody pulling the plug, the financial plug. There was so much to give and so much to share. Mars was right out there. I wanted everybody to continually seek that further exploration, go to Mars, go further, go further. But also secretly, I wanted them to explore and recognize that we have no bounds. We have no bounds.
So,
questions?
Yeah, I have, a little bit of a question. Because when I think about the things that I have seen that you have written, whether it's quotes or longer passages or some of the programs that you participated in, like Cosmos and those things, you were really good about writing a line between the science and the sense of awe that you seem to have around all of it. Was there method in that madness at the time? Or is it something that you became more aware of afterwards?
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. At all times, I could write to a point. I could speak to a point. I wanted to speak further, but I was always pushing it just a little bit further so that by the time I was able to produce Cosmos, I was pushing my limits as hard as I could. And at the time that was actually being produced, it was pushing the limits of our ability to process this kind of information. I know today, if I were live, here we are, alive. I know that today, if I were in front of a camera, I could really push the limits so much further because the world has come so much further in what they believe, and they no longer accept all the limitations that we had created back then, but we created it with the government. That was all science and government had to create these. They created it to protect their own environment. It's just the way it works. It's an industry, it's a business. And unless you protect the environment and the business you're in, all hell breaks loose as far as they're concerned. So there was also, the Blue Dot Project, that's the other one, that is who I was racing into, becoming more free to speak about human nature and our desire and our actual need to explore and to constantly go further. And I had to speak of it about going physically further. Part of me wanted to say, oh, you got to go further here. You have to go further here. But I didn't know until I died that you had to go further than the heart. I really denied so many people, including myself and my family, by signing the agreement that I couldn't talk about these things. So I denied by shutting all of that down because I couldn't go there, so I couldn't speak about it. I didn't want to put anybody in danger, including all the grants and the fundings and everything else that came forward. So, there's a fine line. There's a fine line. And am I sorry? I think I'm sorry for my kids.
Well, if I can give you a compliment that might ease some of that, it's that you created an incredible interest for so many, especially young people, in the cosmos, in the universe, in the unseen territories that man has yet to explore. And that's very largely in part to your efforts to speak to those things on a public platform. And I was a young person watching a lot of those things, and it made me so curious and so interested. And that beginning interest leads to an open mind for these other things. And that's the way the world has gone.
That's the way the world has gone. It's led to the open mind. You're absolutely correct. And that's what I see from my vantage point now. And what if I could leave one message behind, one message, and that is for my wife, Anne. She's not expecting to see me when she dies. I want her to know I'm here and I will be there for her. And she's not coming over soon, not yet, but I'm going to be there for her. I had the entire space team hanging out with me on the other side. They were all there. You want to hear something? I got to tell a secret. Stephen Hawking's is with me. The two of us, we hang together. Boy, do we have laughs. And you know what? We both can drink now. I give him a cigarette. He gives me something too. And you know what? He's going, oh my God, was I wrong? And I said, yeah, oh my God, was I wrong? And you should see all the rest of the scientists were all going, oh my God, were we wrong? But wait, there is no God.
That's a question I have for you, Carl, because I know we're going to get emails about that if you say there is no God. My understanding is there's no God the way most people conceive of it, as a being, a person, an individual. But the ground of being, the source of everything, is an aware, energetic, beyond what we can describe. So that's what I would ascribe the name God to, the ground of all being. Would you agree that is the case? I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
it's not somebody on a throne sitting there and you're going to play harps and.
Well, I don't want to take away from what those expecting to feel or see or experience. Absolutely. I'm just telling you that I wasn't expecting a God. I'm agnostic, as you know, I've told you it's okay. But the God is a word, 3 letters. Allah is another word. And all the other words that are described, and there's sounds, they're just sounds that make up a connotation of what God is to an individual. And I am not denying any of that. No, I do not deny any of that. And I think it's real important for everybody and your audience to recognize that when we say there is no God or others like me, it is to say that it's not a source that exists outside of matter, because God is all matter, all things, all sight, all sound, all. And matter's energy.
Carl, I think we're saying the same thing. I wanted to clarify that for viewers because I could just already feel people typing. What do you mean there's no God? So I wanted to clarify that.
Well, there's going to be plenty of people who are meeting God when they die.
Oh, sure. But
Exactly.
let me
And
put
there's
it,
going to be Christ for others. There's going to
sure.
be all of that. I want to guarantee your public that there is, because that's what our heart is projecting and expecting.
Right. And when we get to your realm of existence, our inner world becomes our outer world, reflected back to us, as my understanding. I'm not there yet, but this is, I'm a researcher. I've been into this my whole life. But I let me rephrase it in a way. There is no God as we conceive of God from our limited human understanding. Would that be a clearer clarification?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
because
And it
there is
does,
no limit.
right,
right,
exactly.
right.
There is no limit.
And it does seem that people experience often the heaven they expect, right?
For a
Correct.
while.
And they'll gather
while.
that way, right?
For a
For a
while.
time.
For a
For a
while,
time,
I
yes.
wasn't expecting anything. When I
Right.
died, I really just thought, oh well, here we go. And if there's something there for me, oh well, okay. But I really wasn't expecting anything. And when I got here, I mean, I didn't have to sit in what so many have had to sit in, so really close to the earth plane. I wasn't there. In fact, I was floating. I was I was finally living my dream. I was floating in space. That was my God. That was my God. That was indescribable. The blackness of space with this deep, rich, exquisite clarity of deep, deep, dark blue black. This wasn't black, it was blue black. And the immensity of life force, not G force, not a gravity of any sort, of life force. And everything, knowledge flowing forward to me, into me, like the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, when you saw all those lights flying fast past you. That's how fast, but it wasn't flying past me. It was coming into me. It was coming into me, he says. And that was God.
That's profound.
It was God.
Well, I always say,
Beautiful.
whatever you can conceive of it to be is not it, but have at it.
Have at it. Have at it. I did not expect it. And I was there in this state. I don't know how long. I have no idea how long. And is there time? I just don't know. I don't know I've never, the experience of stasis, but yet everything happening simultaneously, and knowing and experiencing and seeing and feeling. And yet there's a nothingness about it too. And there wasn't this overwhelming joy or overwhelming love or any of that. It was just, it was for me a heaven. And when I feel like I woke up, that's when everybody goes, hey, you're here, you're welcome. Did I go through a black hole? That was the first thing I was thinking. I was going through literally a black hole. Everybody was on the other side. Hey, this is pretty nice. Yet everybody was on the other side, and I recognized everybody, but nobody was with body. And how could that be? So all of these questions were there. I knew every one of these individuals that were there, yet nobody had skin. Nobody was protecting clothing. Nobody. And I thought, this is the weirdest kind of heaven anybody could possibly. I was just like, I just couldn't believe any of it. So how does one write about this? How do I, I'm a scientist. I can't explain any of it.
It just is.
It just is. And that was and is and always will be my experience with God.
Beautiful. I'm glad we clarified that.
Yes, yes, I'm sorry to mislead anybody into doubting their own system of belief. I do not want to bring that. I want to encourage everyone to seek a deeper understanding of what they believe in. Because for each one of us, I have found from each one of us, just talking to all the other guys and gals, that we've all experienced something different.
Mhm.
Every one of us, not one of us has experienced the same thing.
Mhm. That's true in near-death experiences where people die and come back. They're different. There's a core to it that runs through it that is the same. But the images and the experiences can be very varied. So yes, I think that clarifies that point a lot. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm not quite sure what else I can share with you, but I think I just wanted to really tell you there's more. Keep looking up, as they say on the PBS.
Thank you for all you did in life and all you've done in the continuing life.
More
for
to
coming.
come.
Yes, and for coming through to visit with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate everything. Thank you. Thank you, Regina. I can feel Swedenborg doing this.
Mm-hmm.
For those your audience who do not know who Swedenborg is, this one didn't know who he was either. He's really in me, and he's like bigger than me. So I'm going to be kind of in and out here. I apologize. So I'm going to be talking to and this. So he first came to me recently, Emanuel Swedenborg, and I didn't know who he was. So I'm giving you a little recap. And when I mentioned him to Jeanne, Jeanne goes, "Oh my God, that's the father of spirituality." And I said, "Huh?"
Spiritualism.
Spiritualism. Thank you. Even you correct me. Thank you very much, Jeannie. And so he's here very much so, and he's glad that Carl brought up God because that was his area of expertise and his life and how he tried, he's saying, to teach everyone that God exists on many planes and in many formats, and there was no wrong belief system for God, and that we should accept each and every one of each other's idea of who God is and what God is and how God portrays within oneself, as long as that is from a gift of openness and with a true heart. It has to come from the gift of love and creation. And it can't become a point of war and hate and reason to become biased or ostracize anybody else. To believe in a God and to accept God within oneself, he's saying, is always about accepting everybody else's format of belief in God. And sometimes being in the human nature, it's almost impossible at times because of the human being wanting to overpower and control somebody else's belief systems. And what he spent his entire life, he says, with his writings, is to try to keep that as an open communication. And all of his writings, very profound and accepted in many avenues, was to keep us without judgment and bias against anyone else. We were all created equally. And those were struggling words from his time, and they still are today, he says. But one of the things he'd like to share with you is about reincarnation. And he said there's many places and many things everybody can read about his works for belief systems. But he said reincarnation is a subject that comes along with God, because what is it? Is it our soul that's reincarnating? Is it a spirit? Is it an essence? Is it a part of you? Is it DNA? What part of you is being reincarnated? And are you being reincarnated at the same time over and over and over and over and over in a quantum way? Are you being reincarnated in a hierarchy or a linear? Can you be done at the same time, many, many lifetimes in many, many formats? And he says that reincarnation is happening constantly with you as an individual. Let's say Jeanne. Currently, Jeannie is reincarnated as a Black woman, a red woman, Chinese probably, all walks of life, all economic places, in poverty and in wealth and in all religious things currently. And then they shift. But it's only a portion, a very small portion of the full soul. The spirit is in each one of you, but it's all part of the soul. And so the soul is reincarnating in many, many levels and in many, many layers. So you're experiencing all these things and you're walking in and out of your own experiences. And we're having experiences where we are repeating ourselves and thinking, oh, I was just here. Or this feels so familiar. Atlantis is happening at the same time as Egypt. And is it happening at the same time in this world as opposed to another world? And how many Earth worlds do we have? There's some people who say we have shadow worlds and experiences. These are all multifaceted layers of reincarnation. Are they reincarnation or are they a singular incarnation? And is it all happening simultaneously? This is something that is very difficult because we're living in a linear life. And how you believe, again, is unimportant. He's wanting you to know that the only incarnation you have is the one that you have in your body right now, that you're present and aware of, and that you can as well engage with some of these other many incarnations by simply going deeper. And that's part of the meditation that you experience when you're walking with God, when you're walking into your souls, when you're stepping forward and stepping back and you're listening. I'm overwhelmed. This is Regina. I'm overwhelmed by what I'm seeing and what I'm being shown. And I'm without words on this. If I could show you an immense, okay, let's take a multifaceted crystal ball. Let's take that ball that falls down in New York, on New Year's Eve, the crystal ball that they've got, or Swarovski crystals. Okay, and every one of those crystals that are on that ball have, let's say 50 different sides to them, at least 50 sides. Now, all these crystals are simultaneously on the same ball. Think of that as every one of those crystals is you. And every one of those crystals are moving. Every one of those movements is a life. So these crystals are shimmering and turning. Your lives are turning and shimmering all at the same time. And it's all you, one spirit. And the soul is still outside that. And so that could be just one existence of your spirit in one plane, happening all right now. It could also be happening at the same time, another one of your soul spirits in another plane, let's say in another world, even in another existence, in another cosmos. He says, this is how many times you are integrated into yourself and how much you are learning about who you are all at one time. It's massive. And we only have ourselves to think about right here. And he says, and we can't even get through that. It's just massive to think about this huge ball. And that's only one.
So in life, you did bring through a lot of amazing information about spirituality and the nature of reality, but it was very much colored by your Christian background and by biblical scripture, that sort of thing. How did any of that either stay the same or shift for you after you transitioned?
Well, I got to see heaven.
And was it the heaven you expected?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And there was a God. Yes. So Carl's version is totally different than mine. Mine was a Christian version. And I got to experience that. And I was rewarded in that experience. And that to me was profound in itself because I felt like I had done the right thing. I'd done what I was supposed to do. So that reward, what was that reward? Going, hey, look what's behind these pearly gates. And they're massively opening to see all these worlds, these thoughts, these beliefs, and to recognize that they're all existing without anger, without controlling one another, without fear. They're all movement, individuals of all walks in life, aliens of all walks in life, belief systems of all walks in life, and they're all existing simultaneously, and no one is warring over it. There are no bombs. But did I experience God? Absolutely. Did I experience heaven? You bet. Did I experience quote unquote, not the pearly gates like you're thinking of, but I had gates I had to walk through.
In your writings, in your visitations to the other side, did you find it to be very much like what you perceived in those visitations? Was it still consistent, I guess is the word I'm looking for?
Consistent with my Christian belief.
Well, oh, okay. But I mean, when you got there, was it consistent with what your experiences were when you were traveling there out of the body?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's really, to have written about that afterwards, to have written about these experiences when I traveled out of my body, it was hard for me to be accepted.
Oh,
hard for any of these words. It can be accepted today, and it's taken generations for these words to be accepted. And I've been lost. I mean, the words have been lost. The writings have been gone. I mean, people can find them and they look back for them, but it's no longer part of the education that it was at the time when I was writing them. But at that time when I was writing it was also very disregarded because of being that I was writing from a Christian belief system and I was writing about being more open and having a larger reference that was nobody could relate to. The relating to them was hard. So that's why so many others, it became a larger sect of spiritualism to follow and not Christianity. Any other questions? Well, we've got him here.
Yeah, well, just what would he like beyond what he's already spoken of? What would he like for our audience to know about with regard to where he is and how he experiences it?
He says, I'm walking all over the earth right now in all my incarnations. So much of his spirit is on the other side, and that a part of him exists in a lot of those who walk today. That's what he means by that. Because they're carrying a lot of his messages forward. So he's saying that most of who he is on the other side. He's spirit mostly. But his education, and that's where it's all of those people who are continuing to further reach into their own spirituality is how he's carrying forward. And he just wishes people would continue to keep an open mind about everybody else's, be in that complete respect of other people's belief systems.
Beautiful message. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to let him step out here a minute. And he thanks you very much for coming in. And Jeannie, he loves to watch you work. And he's amazed at the individuals that you bring forward and how open you are. And he wants to say you're one of the true lights of spiritualism. You do not have to announce I'm a spiritualist to be one. And he says, this woman is an incredible spiritual walk.
Well, Robin's here right now, so I'll have to get that message to her. Robin's like, I'm falling asleep here.
Okay,
Can we
come
get
on,
on with
Robin.
this?
Yeah, it's into your nap time. Sorry, Jeannie.
Not that I'm loving Swedenborg. I mean, I could have done a whole bit on him. Yeah, I can tell right now on stage, and I bring a big picture of Swedenborg behind me and go, "How you doing, father? How's it being the father of spiritualism? How many kids have you got on this planet now that you're the father of spiritualism? And what did you do to all those women? Oh my, oh my! When you were having your little melding with these women, did you tell them, oh, you're being blessed, baby, because I'm the father of spiritualism? And there you go." Now you know it's really Robin because Jeanne is not. Yeah, no, I'm happy to finally be here and put my little bit in here, and it doesn't matter about my well, she's got family here. She's smelling good food, and she's wanting to go over there and see her newest grandbaby and stuff. But I've waited a long time to do a little stand up or sit down, whatever you want to call it, because I'm sitting in a chair because she doesn't want to do stand up because that would be a little awkward. But I just have to bring a little levity to all of this because it's so serious. And I think that after we've been so serious about what God and what God is not, then we have to add some humor to the situation, because if there's no humor, as Harry says so well, then what's the point? So the Scotsman Robin, and we share that because she is half Scottish. The other half is half ghost, but that's all right. Anyway, I'm just here to bring us all back in. How are we feeling? Are we getting in touch with our feelings? Are we feeling all warm and fuzzy about our expanded consciousness in the universe and how incredible we are? Because we know all these things that other people don't know. On the other hand, sometimes it's fun to watch the uninformed walk the planet and do idiotic things, because then you go, I feel so much better about myself already because I watched so and so walk into walls. Oh no, it's their cell phone that's keeping them from seeing what's around them. Oh, it's not because they're idiots, they're technological whores. And that's another subject. Now, I hope I've offended at least some of the people that are going to watch this, because otherwise I have not done my job. Now, I'm not against technology, and I'm not against activated spiritualism. AS, activated spiritualism. But I am really on a little tear about the ideas that are kind of inflammatory about our purpose of being here on this planet. Because we have a tendency sometimes to get very pompous, and we have a tendency sometimes to think we know everything, and then we have a tendency to think that that's really important. And let me tell you, it isn't. It's that bright light that comes to you when you know you've had too much to drink and not enough sleep. Now that's when it gets really good, because you go, oh, I've been on a bender. oh, what did I get? How enlightened am I on this bender? Well, I've learned that I'm too old to really drink well anymore, or I'm too old to really have sex after I've been drunk. So I have to put that aside. Or I just want to go back up to Nebraska and tease Regina until she can't stand it anymore. And I'm missing that. So I'm not going to tease her because she's all worn it out. Because, holding these spirits, it's
It's
not,
heavy.
it's not like drinking, because you're hyper aware now. Anyway, what have I got to say that's important? Not much really, except that I really enjoy being in the presence of enlightened people, even though I'm kind of making fun of you right now. I was
Yeah.
never really very enlightened, although some people would say I was because of my humor, but I know there are other people that like my little stuff because when I'd be on set and I would be entertaining people all the time, they would get really irritated with Mr. Robin because he wouldn't shut the fuck up. And then I knew I had my pleasure for me because everybody was just so intense about the product they were producing and the money that was taking, and they forgot the essence of joy and laughter and just being stupid. And just, remember when you were a kid, and maybe you don't, but if you do have that memory of you being a kid, how much you loved to just ride that bicycle or run down the block or ride those, those skate shoes that they used to wear, or just playing with your friends and building a fort, all those things. Where was that now in your life? It's gone. That's considered frivolous. It's considered unspiritual. It's considered, oh no, this is a planet for exploration and for evolution, and to be so aware of ourselves and to take everything so seriously that we lose the light and the joy of our creation. Oh, I think that's so funny. Anyway, I'm not any more enlightened than I was 100 lifetimes ago, but I have having more fun. Yes, I am. And nobody has more fun than an alcoholic who is paranoid and has delusions of grandeur because he had something wrong with him, which makes me more fun. Although I do say that it was a little hard on set after a while. I couldn't remember my lines, and sometimes I didn't even remember who I was. But people would hold up signs and say, "You are Robin. I am so and so." And then I was self assured that everything was okay. But I digress, not by much.
Not by
So
much.
the ladies and I used to have a lot of fun when they weren't living so far apart and they'd visit each other. And there's a group of us here that are really lamenting the fact that we can't torture them. So I just want to go in and recall good times and how much light happened when we, had fun with each other. And I would like to remember and remind people to think of your best memories, because even though some of you are like, oh, my life is shit. I'm never coming back here again. Why? And remember that in that, there will be some priceless memories, believe it or not. It could be the first time you did poo poo in the potty when you were 2, or it could be that you were able to really hold a popsicle in your mouth without freezing to death and getting your tongue all blurred. Those are simply magnificent little experiences. Or the night that you laid out on the grass and you looked at the stars and you go, holy shit, why am I here? I remember being up there. Do you ever have those memories of laying on the ground and thinking, I know I didn't belong here. There's another world out there. I don't feel comfortable here. I had a lot of those dreams and I had a lot of time because I was an only child. So my imagination really took off. But that's what makes me so interesting right now, or so non-interesting, depending on your position about who I am, is that I had all this freedom to dream and to look. And I thought, wow, what do I want to do? I want to be an idiot. And I want to be an idiot in front of all these people. So I'm going to go to Juilliard and I'm going to meet this really tall guy that calls him Superman. And we're going to be best of friends because he's 6 feet taller than I am. But we love each other. And then I'm going to go on and see what I can do. And found out that people laughed at me more than and liked me better that way than when I was doing some serious work. So I thought, well, I can't be serious. I have to be funny. And then I found out that I like being funny, but I also like being serious. And I felt a little crunch there. Oh, I'm 2 people. I'm serious. I'm funny. I'm funny. Are you funny or are you serious? Seriously, I don't know if you're funny. And that was my life. And I loved women. Oh my God, I love women. So when you started talking about sex, I love talking about sex because I love merging. That's my new
Word.
is merging. I am forget the chords. I am merging. I am merging. I have merged with so many wonderful people over here. Some of them are even male, but that's okay. When we merge, oh, there is this blossoming experience, and your mind just goes, wow, and you're just going, I can't believe this. I have to write about this. I have to publish this. And you realize, I'm not there. I can't do that. That's for other people. And then I decided it wouldn't be a good idea to come through people and do that in the human form, because that's probably not respectful. And Jeanne was very clear about that. So we had experiences on the other side when she would go to bed at night, and we got to share each other, and it was so wonderful. And then I met other people that wanted to share with her, and that was kind of a downer. So I had to find other people that was more interested in a little more monogamous. Not that anybody is over here. That was so boring. But, oh my God, we didn't have to worry about STDs or anything. We didn't have to have that little blue pill when we got older. We didn't have to do anything like. And if there was a female that we wanted to merge with, and she was a little, we just go find somebody else. We didn't have to mess with trying to plead with her because she was pretty, but she was uninterested. And in my misogynist, oh yeah, maybe that's part of my explanation. But in reality, what I'm saying is, stop being so pragmatic and so rigid. Even those of you that don't think you're rigid, oh my God, you're rigid. And I love Jeanne, but she's rigid. She's like, okay, this is what I do in my morning routine. This is what I do in my afternoon routine. And we've had talks about it, but she goes, Robin, if I don't do this, I'll forget who I am and where I'm walking. And he goes, that's true, because you do walk other worlds as much as you walk in this world. So we've come to a nice little agreement with the two of us. And then when I get really bored, I force Christopher Reeve, to take me out on a horse, one of his most favorite things to do, because that's really what killed him. And so I said, you got to get over your fear. You got to get back on the horse again. So he'll come with this big, huge, massive horse like a Clydesdale that is sturdy and couldn't possibly get over a fence. So he's not worried about falling off. And so we get on that Clydesdale and we ride together until he feels more comfortable. And then he makes me get on my own Clydesdale, and we go clippity clopping around, and we drink beer and throw the cans away. We don't think about the environment or what we're doing towards spiritual energy. Oh, the most fun in the world. And then, but at Disneyland, we haunt the haunted house. That's one of my most favorite things to do, is to haunt everybody on the haunted house. And when they go boo and they do this and that, then I'll show up and I'll tell you what, those little orbs, try to get my facial expression in, but it doesn't always work when people are taking pictures. They'll get the orbs and go, why do I have all these orbs here? And that's why. And you know what? We are territorial, because there are other people that want to be in there and haunt too, but we kick them out. We have celebrity nights only. And you have to have a golden ticket to get your place in to haunt everybody in a haunted house. And it's different in Florida. They're really very elitist in Florida at Disney World for who can come in. And so I prefer the California version. Although I have gone to Japan and some of the other places around, it's very interesting when you're haunting somebody in a different language, like Japanese or German or something like that. But it's so much fun. And this is a disclaimer: I don't really do that to the extent that I'm making this sound like. But it's a fun story, and it's fun to think about it. The thing I really like to do, I'd like to go up to, when Elon Musk had his people go up and Jeff Bezos had his people go up, and you've got these astronauts in this little penis-shaped thing, and you go in there and you're just floating free, because it doesn't matter to you. You are already a space cadet, and they have these profound experiences. But I remember I played with William Shatner. I whispered in his ears, and are you hard now? Are you excited because you've been in this thing with this? And he's like, what am I feeling? All the sensations. I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't be feeling this. But it was so much fun. Just because we forget that we are not separated. We are not. We are not separated. We're right here. We're just right here. Whenever Jeanne gets sad about her daughter, I don't know if you feel this way with your son, Sally, but whenever Jeanne gets sad about Kylie, I'll come in and I kind of whap her on the head and go, think of the good things and do something fun. What's fun coming up? And then I go, and she argues with me. Am I not allowed to be a morning mother, at least occasionally? And I go, well, yeah, but it depends on the circumstances. You just pick really bad scenarios to be depressed about. Let me give you something else that's more depressing. And then she goes, okay, so I have to change the channel. And then anyway, we have a very interesting relationship that way. So I'm kind of off my tirade right now. I mean, my script writer went out to lunch, so I basically had to wing it on my own. What do I like? What's my favorite color? The rainbow. Fussy, fussy, fussy. that was one of my favorite movies to do, besides What Dreams May Come. And I always say, "So What Dreams May Come." I know you might have to censor that, but that's Robin. But What Dreams May Come is what changed me into being this communicative idiot, because I love it. But I do have a serious side, and that is reality is what you make it to be. Whether you're Swedenborg and you have that understanding, or you're Carl Sagan, who has his understanding, and you have whomever else has come over, which would necessarily be me or Christopher Reeve or Anne Heche or Carrie or all the people that we don't know that who are coming over. It's up to your mind how you process where you are and what you create. 100%. The problem with that is that we still miss things. And it takes a while to unlearn what we believe so we can have the real experience. Because there are consensual realities out there. Consensual realities. And that's what Kylene, this mom's daughter, talks about, consensual realities. And if you get enough of a group believing in something and they're in consensus, boom, there it is. So you have this incredible place of, that's why more things sprout up all the time. More worlds, more possibilities, more realms, because you're constantly creating with similar ideals with people on a level of the group versus your own single cell brain activity. And so you have your own reality that you really can visit all the time if that's where you want to be, or you can have these consensual collaborative collections. Oh, that's good. Collective, consensual, whatever. You have all that possibility too. And the thing is, it can be very scary because there's so much. So you have to choose carefully where you're going to put your energy, how much time you're going to spend in that space, so that you don't really lose your thread and your connection. So there is that. Because you know what? There are places where you have people who are literally because they've lost their thread to consciousness and their connection to their soul energy or the other lifetimes that they've had. And so they're kind of lost in this weird Zoom area where things just float around. But they're all identified and marked off. Oh my God, it's such a kick over here. You wouldn't believe it. Anyway, anybody have questions for this hysterical comedian?
I have one. One, I want to thank you for a lifetime of laughter, because you certainly gave me that. And I have a request. May I make a request of you?
Sure, anytime. I've got time. Looking at my clock. I got time. What do you want, Gary? Want to merge?
I would like you to take Olivia Newton John out to dinner and dancing on me, and just tell her it's from me, because she called me a handsome man today and I'm still drooling. So yeah, if you'd do that for me, if she would consent to it, I would be most happy.
Well, I'm not going to kiss and tell, but we've had moments. Everybody has over here. There's no, where I reside, I wouldn't reside anywhere that wasn't a happy place. But there are places where people are locked in their seriousness and their own consciousness, where they haven't learned yet that life is a dance. But definitely, we will celebrate. Actually, we're all going to go out and celebrate, and we'll probably, as an after dinner drink, we'll all merge, and then that's our celebration for being on the podcast, because that's going to be funny. And now Jean's really giving me a bad time. She goes, "Oh my God, I should have known you were going to talk like that." Now, if I ever heard the word merge, I'll never get that out of my head. But he's teasing me. He goes, "Well, Jean, I know who you've been merging with, so I'm not going to tell."
I think the merging he's talking about is a little different than the way we merge here on the physical.
Well, this depends on what my thoughts are at the time. But yes, I will honor that, respect that. You can think the worst of me, people who are watching this, or you can think of whatever you want. But life is a dance, and it doesn't seem like that when people leave you, and you've seen people suffer, and you've suffered. But life truly is a dance, and what the beauty of it is like that one movie Phenomenon that John Travolta was in, and they wrote the movie song "Leave a Bright Light Behind," Dance Through Life, And that's Jeanne's mantra. And she wants to play it at her celebration of life, because it's dance through life and leave a bright light behind. And if I could say anything that was any at all serious for me, I would say, dance through life and leave a bright light behind. Because as Carrie says, if this isn't funny, then what's the point? Because there's great healing in laughter, and there's great wisdom in laughter, and there's great release in laughter, and you can expand in consciousness in ways that you can't even in meditation, because you are letting nothing negative influence you, and you're just letting things fly out. I mean, if nothing else, and you can't sleep at night, just picture me as Mrs. Doubtfire with all that cream all over my face and my false boobs, and just realize that life is a dance, and we're all characters. We're all characters. Are there UFOs? Oh yeah, baby. I've ridden on some of the strangest places. Are there other? Because I am curious, and I'm going there as far as I can go without being too far off balance. Are there realms where there's battles going on? Oh, yes. Oh, shit, man. There's places where they're cremating each other. Well, or sword fighting or some other way, because they do it through their thoughts. Oh, that's a place. Let me tell you how they think, and things happen. That wizardy thing and all that. Well, that's kind of true too. But you know what? That's limited, because there's so much more beyond that. Because I've met those tall people that your animal friends are. Those are the Hathors, Gary. Those are the Hathors, that advanced civilization that has been guiding the Egyptians, and was with us in Atlantis and all that stuff. And those Hathors, man, they bring wise, wonderful shit to the world, because they're all about love and sound, and they just bring things, and they're right there for us. I mean, there's so much fun just in. Oh, I'm gonna make Jeanne do this. Maybe she can find this really fast. This is another subject of interest. Oh, why did you put it, Jeanne? I don't know. Here it is. It's kind of sad now, but this is a stationary. Because Jeanne uses these rubber bands, but this is a rubber band ball from the stationery store, and this is like all the different energy bands that she talks about, and they all change when you move, and they make a different intersection. And that's the kind of physics that's in the cosmos. And that's how it's all right here. And it's all internal, and you move through one space to another through doorways and portals and corridors as you move the rubber bands around. Man, I said when I came over after I learned a little bit, I said, I want to experience some of that rubber band ball stuff. And some of the scientists that I do over here, that Regina and Jeanne know, said, "Oh, we know what you're talking about." But then you bring in the praying mantis beings, and they are teaching all sorts of stuff about expanded universes and realms and ETs, and people talk about it, but they don't really understand, because their energy is so different. It's scary to go there. What we're trying to do in this planet is up the frequency enough that they can travel into those places and be in a wonderful space without losing their shit, and understanding the expansion of the mind and the heart and the soul and their creation. What a magical thing. So when you feel like you're bouncing off the walls, think about the rubber band ball. Jeanne's going to have to get another one. This is really disgusting, but you get the picture of it. Anyway, I will take the ladies out. But I'm such hot stuff over here. Sometimes they take me out. But we share. We share. We've got that down. And oh, I have to say, oh man, Spock, Leonard Nimoy. Oh man, he has kind of gotten in this mind meld where he is kind of going into that world of the Vulcan. You know what? Enough people believe in the Vulcan that the Vulcan exists. What do you know? What do you know? So there are people running around with these little things going like this, and their little ears going like this, because to think is to create. But you got to be careful where you go. You got to be careful where you go. Anyway, that's my stuff. I'm going to get a t-shirt with a big M on it. It's not for mom. It's for
Mork.
merge.
Merge.
Merge. I thought he was going to say Mork for Mork, since we were talking aliens.
You know, One time I met you in life and somebody yelled, "Hey, Mork," and your reply was, "Hey, I'm not doing that anymore."
And I'm not doing that anymore because it got way beyond Nanu Nanu.
Oh yeah.
Because if you go around the ladies and you say Nanu Nanu, they look at you like you're crazy.
You're not gonna get any merging that way.
You're not going to get any merging when you're doing that stuff. So, I'm not doing that. But
Oh my gosh.
there's so much more. You guys have opened Pandora's box with bringing spirit in.
Cuidado. Yeah.
People want to reassure people. We're here to bring joy, humor, laughter, love, expansion,
And
all of that kind of
seriousness.
stuff.
And seriousness.
And
All this
seriousness.
serious.
Oh yeah.
All seriousness, come on. No.
And from the heart to each one of you that was here today, thank you. I mean, much love to you.
Oh, well, baby.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's happening. I'm feeling it right now. Oh my gosh, it was wonderful. From all of us here to all of you, we love and appreciate you so much. We're there for any times you need help, confidence, support, whatever you need. We're here for you. Bless you all. Thank you. Nanu Nanu.
On that note, thank you again, ladies, for joining us.
If you enjoyed this content, please hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications.